Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Monday, 3 March. I'm your host Daniel, and today we'll be covering the UN Human Rights Chief has voiced concerns at the new US political direction. The Arab world and aid groups have slammed Israel over their blockages of aid to Gaza, and Swedish police are probing a water sabotage attempt on Gotland. So firstly, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, expressed deep concern over the erosion of the basic human rights in the United States as the country's new administration, led by President Donald Trump, rolls back established anti-discrimination policies. During a speech to the United Nations Human Rights Council, Turk highlighted the administration's widespread changes affecting transgender and civil rights, alongside its reduced commitment to international cooperation marked by the US's withdrawal from the Human Rights Council. This shift, according to Turk, has led to a dangerous redefinition of anti-discrimination policies, now portrayed as discriminatory themselves, signaling a significant domestic and international policy reversal. Turk also warned of the negative impact on the gender equality and the safety of media and institutional frameworks within the United States, citing increased risks from disinformation and targeted intimidation against journalists and public officials. This atmosphere of division and fear is exacerbated by the use of divisive rhetoric intended to mislead and polarize public opinion. Additionally, Turk criticized the growing influence of unelected tech oligarchs such as Elon Musk, who, though officially focused on government efficiency, exert substantial control over personal data and has the capability to manipulate public behavior. So what? I agree with some of what Turk is saying here, particularly about how Trump's remarks is damaging gender equality, possibly not even through his actions, just by the things he has said in the past. However, I think it is unlikely the UN will be an effective voice in calling out the current US administration. This is due to the current tensions between them, with Trump having already called for reducing funding of the UN and one senator calling for the US to withdraw entirely. In my opinion, if people want to see actual change within this government, trying to bring them back to a more centrist viewpoint, then the criticism needs to come from internal voices. Otherwise, they will just disregard it entirely. I do understand that this is somewhat the UN's job, but it seems counterproductive in the current state of the US administration. And next, Israel recently halted the entry of essential humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip, a decision announced by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in response to what it described as Hamas's refusal to agree to a US proposed outline for the extending of the ceasefire. This blockade had elicited sharp criticism from international actors, including the UN, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and various humanitarian organizations. The halt comes at a critical juncture following the expiration of the first phase of the ceasefire agreement, which had previously seen an increase in humanitarian assistance to Gaza. The end of this aid is part of broader tensions surrounding the negotiations of ceasefire terms between Israel and Hamas. While Israel seeks further hostage releases, Hamas aims to initiate the second phase of the ceasefire, which would potentially lead to a permanent end to the hostilities. Both sides have accused the other of violating the ceasefire terms, and international observers, including aid organizations and neighboring countries, have condemned the use of aid as a bargaining tool, highlighting the severe humanitarian implications for the people of Gaza. So what? I mean, clearly, this is a pretty shitty thing to do for all of the innocent people that are currently in Gaza. Yet, it is possibly one of the only ways that Israel can apply pressure on Hamas. The trouble is, Hamas has made it clear that they can survive under extremely harsh conditions imposed by Israel, refusing to give up the hostages without large swappages. So now what? Hamas has already got back a large number of their key decision makers from Israeli custody, as well as thousands of fighters. And they need to at least keep some of the hostages to ensure that Israel doesn't just flood the tunnels they've been hiding in. It seems likely that this lack of bargaining chips is what has driven Israel to try and apply pressure through the use of cutting off aid. And lastly, Swedish authorities are actively investigating an attempt to sabotage the water supply for Gotland, an island in the Baltic Sea, as reported by an anonymous newspaper source. The sabotage, which involved interference of a key water pump, could have potentially deprived the entire island of water if not detected in time. This incident adds to a series of infrastructure damage in the region, which some have attributed to Russia's hybrid warfare tactics. The region's head of water and sewage noted that the saboteurs had targeted a pump at a lake crucial for supplying large amounts of water to most of Gotland, highlighting the severity and targeted nature of this operation. Further examinations by technicians revealed clear signs of deliberate tampering, including a manually turned off pump and removed cabling, confirming that the sabotage was intentional. Despite the alarming incident, officials have reassured the residents of Gotland that their water supply remains secure and safe. This assurances comes shortly after Swedish investigators determined that a recent incident involving damage to an undersea cable near Gotland was accidental, not sabotage, further complicating the security landscape in the Baltic Sea. So what? While this is the first operation of this kind on the island of Gotland, it is not the first type targeting water supplies within Europe. These are almost certainly conducted by Russia as part of their wider campaign against countries who support Ukraine. Gotland in particular is extremely strategic when it comes to NATO's overall strategy in countering Russia. Known as the island aircraft carrier, it sits in dominant position in the Baltic Sea, making it the perfect location for radar and anti-ship missiles. This utility makes it prime target for these types of disruption operations, although the same reasons mean security on the island is higher than other locations. Thank you for tuning in to the Intel Brief, your daily update on global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. You can support the show by sharing it with your friends and leaving us a 5-star review. And if you're curious to learn more about intelligence, why not take one of our courses? They're all online, self-paced and affordable. Thank you for listening. I've been your host Daniel, and I'll see you next time.